neighbor's house had a drip pan go out on the AC, which happens to sit right above here, and you can still see water stain damage. I am replacing the entire ceiling up to that 45-degree mark right there. From there downwards it's okay, so I'm just going to stop right here. But I wanted to show you, this is a simple, if you've got kids, man, this is a good way to save yourself some money. I did this myself, but I'll show you some real quick, easy tips to make this a lot easier for you. Before you literally just break the ceiling down, get a razor blade and cut right here. And what you're doing, you're separating the mud from the ceiling to the wall. Just cut all the way across the ceiling with the razor blade. And I did it, I broke this in sections. A piece of sheetrock measures 4 feet by 8 feet, and you can get 4 feet by 10, 4 feet by 12, but the standard common is 4 by 8. So when you tear everything down, get a mask, put a mask on and goggles, because you're going to have a bunch of crap falling, old insulation, you don't want to be breathing all that in. And after you tear everything down, these studs here, they run this way, okay? If you can see the screw marks, those are the studs. You do not want to lay the sheetrock parallel to the studs. You want to do it perpendicular. So you want to do it this way, lay the sheetrock this way against the studs. And if the framing was done right, that corner over there will measure 8 feet right to the middle of a stud if the framing was done correctly. So you don't have to use 2 pieces. And before you start, after your demolition of the ceiling, when you find your stud here, and your stud here, and your stud there, put a little mark right here, little pencil mark on the middle of the stud. What that's going to allow you to do when you have your sheetrock up in the air, you're going to know there's a wood there, wood there, wood there. So you can start your screw down. On this side, it's going to be exposed so you can see the stud here. So you'll know you put a screw here, you put a screw there. And if you're good, you can eyeball it and nail or screw a line in. Or if you want to put a chalk line, make it easier. If you're new at this, maybe a chalk line will help. But don't forget those marks there. If you've got an AC register, mark, get this, and this is not, I mean, I've done this and it never fails. You see the edge of the register, I always just put a little line right here. You see that line? And you see that line. These 2 lines are the width, pretty close to the width of this register, going this way. Now to do this line and this line, I do it on the opposing wall. So you can see there's another line here, another line here. Now if you stand back from a distance, you can get that line there and just eyeball it and bring your pencil mark there on the left side from that wall. You just bring it over, mark that there, and then from this side here you mark it there and you mark it there, and then you cut this out so you know where it sits. It's easy, can't mess it up. And you do the same thing for your light. Here I just put, this is the stud here, I just put 13 inches from the center. So here's my right edge, here's my left edge, here's my right edge. So here from the center I just put 13 inches to the center, and I cut it, and it's pretty damn close. The fan housing is going to cover all this. So those are just simple tricks to do. And if you're doing this alone, to hang I did this alone. This is 8 foot, and it's pretty odd to hold this up. Not too heavy, but to help you out on your walls, attach just a piece of dead wood, screw it down. And you don't want to nail it because you want to screw it down because you're obviously not going to leave it there. So screw it down onto the edge, and then you can just, with your ladder's going to go in the center of, here's my ladder. So once you get on your first step of the ladder, you can attach it right over that cut there, right over the groove of the block. And it'll squeeze in about 1/2 inch above the wall sheetrock. It'll overlap it. So once you can position it and it falls into place here, you're going to hold it with your head or an arm, and then when you have your mark here on you're going to be able to see the stud anyway. You can start screwing in place. And there's a stud that's visible right there, and there's my mark. See the mark there? So I know. And if you need any more, you don't have anybody to help you, here's a 2x4 with a 2x6 attached. Measure the height of your ceiling from down here. Measure it all the way to the top. 95 1/4, pretty close to that. So you want to cut this piece of wood, including this, so you measure from here to there, and you want it just a little bit more than the height of your floor to your ceiling. And what that's going to do, when you wedge it in the carpet, if you don't have carpet, you could put something under there. You can just tilt forward, and look, it'll hold by itself. And that will give you tremendous support to help balance the 8-foot sections while you're quickly applying your screws. And once you have 2 screws here, 2 screws here, and that support there, you can release this. And this will you just pop it right out in there. Simple as that. Easy, easy, and that's going to cost you $2. But that is a quick do-it-yourself single man project or woman to save you a whole bunch of money to fixing the sheetrock ceiling. But you can see how bad this was. I mean, and I took this out and there was mold everywhere, so you wear a mask. I'll show you guys how to do the taping and floating. But if you have crown molding, obviously you're going to have to remove the crown molding. If you don't have crown molding, it's a lot easier. Just remember to get the razor blade and score the edges, do the separation, and you'll have real smooth breaks like that. See, the tape came out a little bit there, which is alright. You can still fix that easy, but for the most part it'll rip out. It's been there for years. And that's it. And make sure you put at least 4 screws every 12 inches and at every stud. Don't use 1/4 inch sheetrock. They sell 1/4 inch sheetrock. That is not for ceiling. Don't use 5/8 sheetrock. That is too heavy. That's commercial. This is 1/2 inch sheetrock. And if you lay your sheetrock correctly, this is what you should have. Look at this. You should not have a bump here. This is smooth. Look at that. Nice and smooth. That's what you want. If this is too high and that's too low, your taping and floating is going to look horrible. But that's what you want. Look at that. Nice and smooth on all seams. And whenever possible, I don't know if I can see. If you can see this line right here that is pressed into the sheetrock from the factory, that is your tape line. From about 2.5 inches to the edge of the sheetrock, 2.5 inches to the edge of the sheetrock, it's lower. Between my fingers here, this is lower than here, and that is made that way from the factory because that's where you're going to put your mud and your tape. So when it dries, it'll keep that flat finish look. And that is only on the long sides of the sheetrock. It is not on these corners. That's why, or on the left side and right side. That's why it's super important to get a nice flat finish. But look how smooth that is. But this is a quick, easy. You can do this in a day and save yourself easy $1,000, maybe $1,500. I know that's what I would charge. I'm gonna do or attempt to tape and float. It's not hard. It's just a little bit messy if you've never done this before. And cover your floor, but scrape all these little particles that are sticking out, and just go to the big box stores and get tape, sheetrock tape. It automatically comes with a notch in the center that allows you to easily fold it and do that, just like that. It folds right in the corners. And you want to pre-apply some mud here, because this, look, not going to stick, okay? So you need some mud there to allow this to stick. If you're going to put crown molding, you don't need it, forget it. But on this groove here, if you use a 12-inch or 6-inch trowel, I don't like using those. I use a little bit wider. But all you're going to do, and you can, I don't know if you can see the gap. See where my fingers are? You can see that? That's where that gap I was talking. It's lower here because this is where the tape and the mud goes. But all we're going to do right now, apply a thin coat of mud, and then we're going to apply the tape, float it out, and then apply another thin coat of mud. And this is just general purpose sheetrock mud. Don't get the bags that are powdered that read 20 minutes, 45 minutes, 90 minutes. 20 minutes means it's going to dry in 20 minutes, so you actually have less time to maneuver it, play with it, handle it. And if you haven't done this before, you need more time. This mud, the general purpose, takes hours to dry, so you have time to make any corrections or adjustment if your tape goes out of line. Remember you to apply this mud with a 6-inch wide trowel, but you squeeze it in there. You don't need to go too thin, and you don't need to go too thick. I'm probably 1/8 of an inch thick is probably the height difference between the groove in the sheetrock that I showed you. Just like that. Nothing too. And just give it a light pass this way. It'll even it out. That's all you have to do. At this point, I'm only going to do a small section of tape. And I should have got my holder for this, but I don't have it. All you have to do is line it up right in the center of the union. So if you do this right, this line right here will line up right there, and that's it. You put another coat, and it's just a little awkward doing it upside down, but that is it. And you can do a couple more passes if you want a super smooth. And just be careful you don't lift up the tape like I just did right there. But you can flatten it out again just like that. Okay. And make sure that you have no ripples. And that's it. That's about it. So you let that dry, and this will give you quite a while to dry. Take out any remaining pieces of sheetrock that are pretty heavy or pretty thick, because you don't want them to dry. And be a lot easier when you're doing texture. But that's it. You don't want to have any ripples in the tape where it looks like it's bubbling. You can peel this back. You can peel this back and do it again as much as you want. If you put heavy texture, that helps you a lot also to hide any imperfections that are left over. Orange peel and Monterrey finish, they're going to show. But heavy texture like this, knockdown, you'll be okay. All right, guys. Peace. Have fun. They've got different size trowels at the big box stores, and also get yourself a tray so you can pour, or not pour, but you have to literally scoop this out. This is thick. It's a lot thicker than peanut butter. But get yourself a tray. They have them there, and it's you can fill it up and take it with you up to the top of the ladder. Make it a lot easier to work with. I was going to give you a rough idea what this project will cost you. This box of ready mix is $7. One sheet of sheetrock 4x8 is about $7. So we've got 1, 2, there's 3, 4, 5 sheets. So there's, let's say we went over there. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets here and 4 sheets here. So 4, 8 times 7, okay, plus 56 plus another $7 there. So you're into it $65. And your trowel, your pan, so a box of screws is $10, if that, and 2x4. So you're into this less than $100, and with patience you can do this in one day if you have help. I'm doing this alone, but if you've got some help, you can do this less than a day. And if your insulation is bad, then that's going to cost you more, but not much. But you can save yourself easy $1,000, $1,500 doing this yourself. With the bad. Don't forget to fix the bad oil drip pan, obviously. But that's an easy way to save yourself a whole bunch of money. All right, guys, I'm out. Peace. When you're going to measure your sheetrock, and if you're going to do the entire ceiling, I'm doing it a piece at a time, but they're 4 feet wide, okay, 48 inches. Break off just a little bit extra. That way when you're putting this up, especially if you're doing this alone, when you're pushing this up, you don't want this old sheetrock super tight, because you're going to struggle to sit this in its place. If you're going to break more, go ahead and break a couple extra inches, so when you push this up by hand, it'll fall. You only have to worry about aligning this seam here, and this one, there's nothing in its way to keep you from pushing it up.